Thompson, physician, specialist, and notable environmental conservationist. Every Wednesday, 8 to 9 p.m. here on WeFM 99.9. Your health matters. Ask Dr. Thompson any burning question you have related to health. Your health matters. Dr. Thompson will examine healthcare, highlight important environmental issues, and look at what's hot in science and technology and the next wave of emerging diseases and health trends. So this and every Wednesday, join us 8 to 9 p.m. here on WeFM 99.9 because your health matters.
People's Pharmacy, for all your pharmaceutical, skin and body care needs. Located on Grenville Street in Kingstown. They open 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday to Saturday. Call them today at 784-456-1170. People's Pharmacy also stock vitamins and supplements, personal care items, toiletries, children and adult pampers, and much, much more. And of course, get your prescriptions filled by a friendly and professional pharmacist. People's Pharmacy. Come in today and let us serve you.
Yes, good evening to you. And once again, this is Dr. Gerald Thompson with Your Health Matters. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m., you can put your pot on the fire most of the time. That we will have the show, a health program that tries to enlighten you and bring some important information to you. This year, I am going to be doing some interviews with various doctors. Matter of fact, next week, I'm looking to have a doctor in studio. His name is Dr. Reem Thompson. Yes, he's a relative, and he's a new endocrinologist here in St. Vincent. We're going to be talking diabetes. We're putting some ads out. I want you to listen. Because it's always nice to hear some new, bright, young ideas and so forth, and for you to ask questions in probably the limited time that we have available. But we're going to talk diabetes next week. But this evening, you may have heard, I was actually down. I had the flu. And guess what? Man, I battled it, I bounced back and so forth. I still got it, But do you know, I want to make some distinctions today. There are over 200 viruses that can cause the common cold. And you may know, matter of fact, boy, it would have been 1977, I would have gone to England and I got a job as a virologist at University College Hospital. And from there, I studied some microbiology, went into medicine, became an infectious disease specialist. And so you could understand, whereas for many of you, infections are a dread, for me, infections and viruses are like, I wouldn't say buddies, they're bugs, but they're things that I'm fascinated about and have an interest in, not only in why have they come about, but how do you deal with them? How do you treat them? And I'm saying that there are over 200 viruses that cause the common cold. But the common cold is not the flu. Let me put it that way. Now, the common cold, some of the common viruses that cause the common cold, I'll give you some names. There's one called rhinovirus. The nose, as we call the rhine part of your body, and these viruses attack the nose and the sinuses. And they're the most common culprits for colds. And typically in the spring and in some of the summer. And then there are various coronaviruses. We've been hearing a lot about coronaviruses, but I'm talking about the simple coronaviruses, not COVID. simple coronaviruses that just cause the common cold. And then there's something called RSV, respiratory syncytial virus. A strange name, eh? Respiratory syncytial virus, RSV it's called. Then there's adenovirus. Oh gosh, they kind of, and then there's parainfluenza. And there are all sorts of other names, you know. And we give all kind of names to different age, but there are over 200 of them. I've just given you 5 or 6, but they cause the common cold. Now, on the other hand, what about the flu? Now, the flu is typically caused by a different virus called the influenza virus. The influenza virus. And look, regardless of the season, the flu typically produces a fever, chills. Then, as the virus is passing through your blood, let me tell you, as it's passing through your blood, circulating, it's getting through your muscles. So therefore, as it's going through your muscles as well, you start having muscle aches, body aches, you know? And then your body reacts to the virus in a funny way that it wants to shut it down. So what it does, it produces stuff that makes your temperature rise. This is an attempt to kind of boil the virus. You know what I mean? Heat up the virus. Maybe that might slow it down. So you typically have a fever. But in addition, the whole process of it going through, you start feeling very fatigued. Matter of fact, you feel as if a truck has run over you. You feel you've been hit by a truck, if anything. Then you may start having a sore throat. Oh boy, this is one of the Achilles heel, a sore throat. Throat dry and painful and sore. And if it's near your voice box, you could even start to lose a little bit of your ability to speech. Then as it starts to go down into your chest, into your lungs, you start having a cough, your airways, your bronchus, and it goes up into your nose. You start having more of a runny nose. The runny nose going down in your chest, you have a cough. And if it goes deeper down in your chest and it's producing phlegm, not only do you have your coughing, but you're bringing up gunk, phlegm, you know? And then guess what? Sometimes these viruses, they do something strange. They've gone into your lungs. They also can start going down into your belly. Something you can have diarrhea. You can have nausea. So the symptoms depend on how the virus is traveling. From around your nose, whether it goes up, whether it goes down, whether it's whatever it's doing. Now, influenza. There are 4 types of influenza. Let me put it this way. 4 types of influenza virus. There's type A, type B, type C, and type D. I'm just throwing that out to you. But influenza A and B viruses are the most common. And they circulate seasonally in epidemics and outbreaks around the world, you know? So when we are looking to find out what influenza is about, we say, is this an influenza A or is it influenza B? We typically don't see so much influenza C and D, but they can occur too. Now, influenza A virus, they could be further broken down into various subtypes, you know, just like how different strains and all that. And according to different protein that make up the virus, these viruses are made up of protein. And we typically call one of these protein H, and we call another one N. You know what I mean? So when we're describing these influenza viruses, we typically say it's H and an N. but they're different numbers. So you could have H1N1, H3N2, H5N1, a whole set of different combinations. Some combinations go with each other and some don't. Now, influenza B viruses are not classified into these subtypes, but can be broken down into further breakdown. We say influenza type B virus, you know, and but they don't really have the same H1N1, H3N2. So influenza spreads easily between people when they cough or sneeze. Now, we did this all through COVID. We all know about this, right? If I cough, do you know I am creating a lot of respiratory droplets? And each tiny droplet has literally hundreds, if not thousands of virus in it. And if you are about 3 feet away, 4 feet away, and you breathe in at the same time, you are breathing in some of those droplets, and they're going into your nose, and they're going into the back of your throat, and they're going into your lungs. And that's what they love. That's what they want. They want to find another moist individual that they could breed. And the virus, if it settles in and takes over and your immune system doesn't repel it, it's going to cause the same cycle again. So coughing and sneezing. But in addition, if I cough in my hand and I go and I touch your hands, or if I had influenza and I came into the studio and this microphone, I am touching it, I am coughing in and so forth, unless I have some sort of wipe, you know, unless I have some sort of wipe to wipe it down after and make sure that it is nice for the next people. And this is some alcohol, oh gosh, you know, you can't wipe it down too much just to damage the microphone, you know. But, and then, you know, if I've done my hands and all that kind of thing, I should be all right. I should be okay. The next person should be okay too. And I wanted to demonstrate that. So that influenza spreads so easily from coughing and sneezing. And influenza disease, influenza can be mild or it can be severe, depending on who it has affected, what kind of condition they're in, what is the state of their immunity, and how much dose they've gotten, you know, how much dose they've. Now, this can sometimes result in somebody having to be hospitalized. And guess what? It could even result in death. Now, while most individuals recover within a week without the need for any medical care at all, influenza can lead to various serious complications, including death, especially among people who are high risk and people who may be children. So young kids, they seem to be more susceptible to the flu. Whereas older persons who got diabetes, who have a cancer, who's been treated for chemotherapy, who have arthritis, who have various illnesses, they too are at risk. Because as you get older, your immune system starts to fade. So young people don't have the best immune system, and old people, older persons, their immune system started to fade and fall off a little bit. And so that's why they may be at high risk, especially if they have other underlying illnesses. It's important to point this out. So the elderly person, the pregnant woman, and those who have these underlying conditions are at risk. Now, health and care workers are also at risk. Doctors, nurses, the people who go about cleaning, you know, somebody who may come and touch this microphone before it was cleaned, they could pick it up too, you know. Now, all these things are important. And so influenza virus infection is really about whether you have been exposed to the virus or not. And remember I was saying influenza is not the common cold, but 200 viruses cause the common cold. I'm talking about influenza. And we got to determine whether it's influenza A, influenza B, and whatever the case might be. Well, I want to explain to you that there's been an influenza that's been going around. It swept through England. The healthcare system in England is turned upside down. It's been sweeping through the United States. And for Christmas, we had lots of people in from North America, from Canada, from England, from USA, and some of them brought the virus with them. I will tell you that. It's true. And the strain that we have is called H3N2. H3N2. You may say, what does that mean? Well, this particular strain is not so common, right? And early in 2025, we started noticing this influenza sweeping through. Like most influenza, it causes a sudden fever. A sudden fever. You just have a fever. You get chills. You start getting shaking, especially when your temperature goes up, your temperature then goes down. When you have a fever, your temperature spikes, 101, 102, 103. Then your temperature goes down. Then it spikes again, then it goes down. During the time that your temperature goes up, you feel hot and feverish. And when the temperature comes down, because it's a relative change in temperature, you feel chills. You feel chills because your temperature has dropped a little bit. Now, it isn't because your temperature has dropped down to like you're in snow. It's just that it is dropped from where it was a high fever back down to normal. You understand? And your body senses there's a change in temperature and it's chills. And you start to shake a little bit. In fact, you see some goosebumps come up. And it isn't because you're out in the snow. It isn't because you're near a fridge or somebody threw some ice at you. It's because your temperature's come down a little bit. And that's the way your body has behaved. And your body will have another fever again, temperature going up, trying to boil the virus, trying to flush the virus out of your system. But it's also affecting you. Now, besides the chills, I told you you're going to have body aches, muscle aches. You know, your arms will feel achy. Your legs will feel achy. And then you start feeling fatigue. You want to lie down. You want to lie down, right? Now, part of all this fatigue is that when your temperature goes up, do you know you are burning off a lot of fluids? Kamal, do you realize that? You're sweating off a lot of fluids. You don't even realize it, but you're sweating off a lot of fluid. And if you don't drink water, your water pressure in your body, the amount of water in your body the tank starts to get low. And that's one of the reasons why you also start feeling fatigue, tired, because your water level is low. There's other reasons too, because you start having headaches. The fever, the virus passing through you start having headaches. And then I told you about if it starts going down into your chest, you got a cough. If it goes down deeper, you start having gunk, phlegm. You start having a sore throat. If it goes up, you start having a runny nose, a stuffy nose. And if it really goes deep up, it starts getting into your sinuses, and your sinuses feel blocked. You can literally hear yourself talking and coughing and so forth, because your sinuses are all blocked up. Breathing becomes difficult, especially if you breathe through your nose. And some experience say nausea and vomiting. I pointed it out, especially children. Children are the ones who typically get some nausea and vomiting. Elderly persons don't typically have that. And so symptoms often appear very sudden, similar to that of COVID, similar to that of the common cold, but it's still different. And what you want to be very careful of, lots of studies have shown, a lot of people who develop influenza, a number of people develop them, guess what? The infection changes make them at risk of developing a secondary infection called pneumonia. And a different germ, a different bacteria now takes over from the virus. So you get hit with the virus, first of all, Kamal, and you think you're going to recover. But what you've done, the virus always opens the door for another germ to come in and attack your lungs and give you pneumonia. This is where a number of people typically die, because they develop the pneumonia, don't even know it. And therefore, they start having fever again. The fever returns even higher. They start having trouble breathing. They start having other problems. And so the common symptoms, I would say, fever, chills, right? Body aches, fatigue, cough, congestion, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea in kids, and so on. And we have to look at this. So flu is typically seasonal, and is a respiratory illness, as we say, caused by one of these different type of influenza, whether influenza A, influenza B, C, or D. And we have to make absolutely sure it doesn't allow for a secondary infection that causes pneumonia, and that you recover very quickly. This season, the strain has been H3N2, but it's been a little unusual because this is a particular type of H3N2. We call it the K type. Don't worry that. Now, it doesn't make it more infectious. It doesn't make it worse, but we've observed that this strain, which is still mutating, develops an illness quicker than other type of flus and most other flus, Now, it doesn't indicate that there's a increased severity of disease. No, that's not what it's saying. What we are noticing is just that it is acting faster, it's making people sick quicker. They get fever quicker and those sort of things. And it's important from a public health point of view that they track this, because it can lead to death, it can lead to secondary infection. And so public health departments absolutely need to monitor. Now, even though there are some genetic differences in the circulating influenza viruses and the strains, and we do have vaccines for influenza. And each year, they try to predict which influenza is going to be the bad boy. Very often, they don't get it right. Most of the times, they do. But when they develop a vaccine before the influenza comes to our region, the influenza vaccine is given mainly, as I said, to young kids and to elderly person. Kamal, a guy like you wouldn't need influenza vaccine annually. I wouldn't need it either. But if you had lupus, if you had bad diabetes, if you had a cancer in the past few years, a breast cancer, a prostate cancer, whatever, as a doctor, I would recommend that you take it because you don't want to get knocked down. And you out there, you could always see your nurse, your community nurse, and so forth, to ask them about these particular things. These days, vaccines, in some people's mind, have a bad name. And so some people never consider it. But boy, I'm not talking about if you are a 25-year-old on a sports team, you ain't need it. I'm talking about young infants, and I'm talking about the elderly who may have an underlying illness, because they're the ones this thing will knock down, knock for 6, and worst of all, allow them to develop another pneumonia on top of it. So the World Health Organization, other organizations, continue to monitor these things, right? Now, in the Northern Hemisphere, some countries have reported lots of cases. Now, in the Southern Hemisphere, right? And all these things are monitored by the different countries. Around the world, 160 different institutions and countries monitor flu. They have to report it. So when there are cases here, we report it so that the rest of the world knows, you know? And that's how, when the flu's coming down, that's why our health department would know, boy, expect next month, expect next 2 months, some sort of wave. Christmas is coming by, expect a lot of those people to be coming in. And there's very little you could do about it. You can't block people at the airport. You can't tell them they can't come. It's a matter of rolling a dice. But you're hoping that it is going, by being aware, it is going to limit any sort of outbreak or so of these illnesses. So 2025-26 season is surpassing right now the 2024-2025 flu epidemic, which last year was considered high. This year, it's considered higher, you know? And we have flu waves twice a year. One of the worst things is if these flus start to happen back to back, you know? And as I said, the dominant strain that we are seeing right now is the H3N2, and it's the subclass K, or the K grade, which accounts for about 90% of the cases, right? 90% of the cases is this H3N2. And this H3N2 is known to cause more severe flu symptoms in seasons, but as this H3N2 is a lot more aggressive as a virus. But let me say, even though the season is a little worse than last year, it is still containable. It is still not as bad as we might really expect. But for those of you who catch it, well, I'm sorry, you know, you got it bad too, you know. Now, there's no indication, as I said, that this is a more severe strain as is, but it's supposed to be. Now, I want to just go back with some details. And I don't know if any of you, we're about halfway through the program. I thought I'll throw open the lines a little early today, because remember, that's 457-9997. You can call us direct on the phone, or you give us a WhatsApp call, the same number, 457-9997. We'll certainly be happy to entertain your calls and so forth. What I ought to get any sort of WhatsApp message or so on the subject. The flu is one of these strange illnesses that there have been some strains that have killed literally millions of people. You know, strains that have killed millions of people. You may have heard about the Spanish flu. Right now we have an epidemic of this H3N2. But it's not a pandemic. It's not a pandemic. On the other hand, way back when, in 1918, there was a pandemic of the flu. And a part of it was that a lot of people had not been exposed to that strain before. And I should talk a little about that. When you get exposed to an influenza virus, your immune system looks at it. Okay, it'll give you a cold. It will give you the symptoms I talked about: fever, chills, body aches, headaches, cough, sneezing, so forth, and you recover. But when you recover, your immune system has taken a snapshot of that virus. It's taken a picture of it, and it's there in your immune memory. And if sometime later, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, you are exposed to the similar type of virus, your immune system that has a picture of it recognizes it straight away and produces some killer substances in your body that's able to nip the virus in the bud, is able to kill it before it has gotten hold of you, before it has dug in deeply. Now, if on the other hand, this is like a new strain and your body has not been exposed to this virus before, your immune system watches it and then sounds an alarm. There is a new virus, but we've never seen it before. What the hell do we do about it? Now, depending on who you are, depending on the state of your body, state of your immune system, your body still reacts to the virus. It still tries to stop it. Same way, produces a fever to try and boil the virus. Yeah. You know, it basically, you in your blood, there are these white blood cells that eventually will try to kill the virus. But it's not the same as if you had been exposed before and your immune system had a memory of it and knew how to really deal with it properly. You know? Not to play around with it and try this and try that and try the other. It knows how to deal with it. Now, so most people, twice a year, they may be exposed to a flu virus of different strains. And these flu viruses, they're coming from all over the place, especially with international travel. We know some of them, they've also developed in swine, and we call those swine flu. Some of them have developed in birds, and we call it bird flu. Others have developed in other animals and so forth, and we might call it by different names. But they have a way of coming around. And you got to remember too, you know, that when these swine flus and bird flus start to attack, they're attacking birds too. So the chicken in your chicken coop, they could die. You may see birds in the wild die off. You may see swine, pigs die off. But the important thing is that some of these viruses, as well as being able to affect birds and swine, they could also affect humans. And because we are so concentrated in now buildings, and we close up the buildings, and we have air conditioned units, and we are circulating the air in these air conditioned units, we don't have the exchange of air from the outside to the inside. And air conditioned units are great, wonderful, wonderful things. But you know what? They have to function properly, boy. You got to make sure they're clean. You got to make sure they're clean, because if they're not clean, they may not actually solve, they may create more of a bigger problem for you than anything else. Make sure you clean your air conditioners, you know. But the real issue here is that if you have been exposed to the virus before, or something looking like it, a strain that looks a little bit like it, not the exact same one, your immune system can still recognize a part of the virus. It could recognize a part of that. Remember I told you H and the N? It could recognize a part of the H and say, I got ya, and go and attack the virus and get rid of it. It could recognize a part of the N, this protein, and go and attack that. Your immune system is really great. Now, for some people, there's a need to boost their immune system. As I said, in young kids and in the elderly, we don't know if the strain that's going to be coming by is similar to the one from last year or the one from the year before. And so what they do, they develop a vaccine that they give you long before the flu season, so that you could now build up some immunity to the virus that they are predicting is going to come by. That sounds come out, you understand what I'm saying? They, with some advanced science warning, could get an idea what is the flu virus that's going to be coming by this season, in the first part of the season, the second part of the season. But sometimes they're off. Sometimes they're wrong. When they're right, they can save thousands and thousands of people's lives. When they're wrong, then the vaccine doesn't work. People catch the flu. Some people die. And that's the whole nature of it. Now, I must say, though, that it's said an ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure. With the flu influenza, in some countries, you know, people don their mask and so on. Putting on a mask these days has its own taboo. I do it, you know. I'm not afraid, not ashamed to do that. But the most important thing is reducing your risk of catching it. That's hard. If you have a family member, a daughter or an elderly who's caught it, then you are in the line of fire, you're at risk. But if there's somebody at work with the flu, it may be better if that person stays home. You know what I mean? You come out, you know? It may make sense, so that you don't really pass it on. At the same time, too, your hands are so dangerous and precious. We use our hands for so many things. But just by putting a little bit of stuff on your hands as a antiseptic could really kill those particular viruses in a very short space of time. Because we touch things, we touch each other. In fact, from our nose, we touch our eyes. We touch our eyes, we touch, we shake hands, we do all sorts of things. We do these things automatically as a matter of gesture and politeness, and it can create problems. It can kill people. So it's important that you will protect yourself, but also protect others. And focusing on you staying away, or if you don't have it and you see somebody who you think may be high risk, or somebody who says they have it, best thing to do is to keep your distance. Keeping 3 feet, 4 feet may be sufficient so that when they cough and sneeze, you're not breathing in the stuff. You're not breathing in the droplets that have the virus in it. On the other hand, just by wiping and washing hands and so forth can significantly reduce your risk. If you are an elderly person and you're a person at risk, if you are a young child and certainly kids, you got to look at this. We have a question there. Good night. Greetings. What is the best product for someone to bust in immune system? Okay, I'm not sure about the question. Good night. What is the best product for someone to boost their immune system? Boost their immune system. Here, what the way the person wrote it, they said to bust the immune system. So I wasn't sure if they wanted somebody to bust the immune system or they wanted to boost it. I know that the person is saying they want to boost the immune system. That's a good question, That's a really great question. Your immune system is made up of so many different components. And you have different types of white blood cells. Some that are fighting the virus. Some that are memorizing the virus for another time. Some that are protecting the rest of your body from injury and so. And all these are very important. Now, in the case of the flu, I want to start with some simple things. First of all, hydration, fluids. If you are a person who typically stays well hydrated, if you're a person who's not dry, don't be a person who is dry. I always try to be a person who's well hydrated, and just by hydrating yourself with water, coconut water, boy, I tell you something, this goes a long way. Now, additionally, there are certain foods that we know are great at boosting your immune system. We know veggies, fruits, we know whole grain, lean protein, that they tend to boost your immune system, largely because of certain substances they have in them, such as vitamins, flavonoids, and other things like that. Fresh foods are remarkable at how they boost and improve your immune system. But there's something else, exercise. If you are a person who's overweight, if you're a person who is more laid back, your immune system typically is much more sluggish than someone who has been exercising, someone who is more active, someone who is just getting more of a workout on a regular basis. So exercise is a big immune booster, And then I want to tell you something, and I don't get enough. Sleep. Kamal, how much sleep a night do you get? Yeah? Are you a workaholic? Are you a night owl and so forth? You look so. A little bit. 5, 6 hours. Boy, I tell you, you should be getting 7, 8 hours sleep. It's nice to get 5, 6 hours. 5, 6 hours means that you go to sleep at 12 o'clock and you wake up at 6. That's 6 hours sleep. What about if you... 6 hours. Yeah? You get up at 5 in the morning. Boy, you might need to go... Might need to go to 10:30, 11 o'clock. You need that 6, 7 hours. You need that extra hour. But let me tell you, do you know that sleep not only rests your muscle, sleep not only rests your brain, sleep also helps to bring about some rest of the immune system. And it's really important to get a lot of sleep, right? And let me give you the sleep, 7 to 9 hours. Kamal said 5 to 6. I'm going to go with 7 to 9 hours. Now, I'm guilty. I don't get enough hours sleep. I'm telling you. Because I don't get the same hypocrisy, I'm telling you what's recommended. 7 to 9 hours of sleep. You won't regret it. But there's some other things. Do you know what some of the things that really... They hit your immune system hard. They hit your immune system hard. One of the big ones, stress. Stress is an immune suppressor. Stress produces a lot of steroids in your body. And steroids, your natural steroids or anything like that, worst of all, if you're taking injections of steroids and all that kind of thing, worse if you are a person who's on medication with steroids because you're treating an illness. Certain illnesses require steroids. That steroids will start to suppress your immune system. So your natural steroids, that comes about from stress, worry about money, worry about your girlfriend, worry about your boyfriend, worry about your job and your this and that, the other. All those things really are big suppressors. And I'm switching the subject here. I'm completely switching, but that question is such a profound question. And thank you. What are the things that boost the immune system? But I'm talking about things that suppress the immune system. Alcohol. You know what alcohol does to the immune system? Smoking. Smoking, all these other things do, man. All these things are dung and they suppress the immune system. Stress, alcohol, smoking. And they're really important. They're really important, that you avoid them. So there are lots of things that can boost your immune system, yes. But you have to avoid the things that can suppress your immune system. When your immune system is down, you are at higher risk of catching the flu. You're higher risk of catching colds. You're higher risk of catching all sort of things. Let me tell you some good stuff. Turmeric and ginger, garlic and ginger. These spices have antimicrobial and anti-inflammatory properties. There's a bush I have at the mango. It's called dog blood bush. It's anti-inflammatory. It's good. I pick off a few of the leaves. I stir it up. I put it in some tea and the dog blood bush. It helped me a little bit. I should have had more before I picked up this thing, and lots of other things. But as I said, I still want to go back to hydration. keeping well hydrated. I want to thank that person for that call. That made my day. That question made my day. Boosting your immune system means reducing your risk of catching a flu and a cold at this time. Boosting your immune system reduces your risk. How you boost it? Eating some of this lovely stuff, drinking turmeric, ginger, lemongrass, all them kind of thing. All those things are wonderful. And then hydration in general, fluids, fluids, lean meats, and so all those things are good. Then, whole grain fluids is so important. Hydration, I repeat it again. Hydration, fluids, coconut water, hydration. I can't say it often enough. Can I say it? Come on, can I say it one more time? Hydration. Yeah? I can say it again. Yeah, hydration. The boy tell you something, it goes a long way. And then avoiding stress, avoiding alcohol. This whole idea about drinking strong rum for a cold. Drinking strong rum for a cold and so forth. Especially if you say you go do it regularly, boy. I'll be drinking strong rum all the time. I'm gonna take an extra dose of strong rum. Huh? We're taking the call here. Yes. Hello, good evening.
Good evening to you, sir. I have not spoken to you for a while.
Yes. How are you?
I'm trying to stay as focused as the good Lord would allow me.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. How's my how's my second favorite island in the place?
But here I got just the thing you talking about, a lot of flu and cough and respiratory problems, man. I hear full of it.
Yes.
And they say it is very contagious.
It's very contagious, yes.
Very contagious.
Yeah.
But that could call you.
Wait, hold a second. I'm hearing you with a little sniffle. Am I hearing you with a little sniffle in the background? I pick up a little
You're
sniffle.
hearing correct now.
Oh gosh, yes. Yes.
But I just drink some orange juice.
Yeah.
But that's not really in anything. I think that sniffle is from habit.
From habit. Okay, all right. Okay. I'm a doctor. I read it all kind of thing. I hear songs and I'm processing things in a different way. But you go ahead. Go ahead with your question.
Yeah. That sniffle is from habit. I do not know be wrong with me, but I just is sniffling.
Yes.
I want to share something about the air conditioners that you spoke briefly about the air conditioners, but I want to make this point about the air conditioners.
Okay, let's hear.
That the liquids, the waters and things from the air conditioners can be very dangerous because it can also give you Legionnaire's disease. And I'm sure that you know Legionnaire's disease.
Well, I'm familiar with Legionnaire's disease. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. And when you're around air conditioners, because I know a guy that used to work with us, a pilot.
Yeah.
And he died
of Legionnaire.
He went to Trinidad.
Yeah.
He went to Trinidad and was in his hotel and caught Legionnaire's disease from the air conditioner. So I just thought I would mention that.
Yes. You wouldn't believe
you're
it.
Wrong air conditioners, you try not to.
Can I tell you something?
Contact.
Let me tell you something.
Sure.
Kamal is an expert on air conditioning and air conditioners. And we were chatting just before the beginning of the show. And I mentioned to him about Legionnaire's disease. I didn't bring it up during the show. You understand? But he would tell you that I was speaking to him about it. Right?
Yeah.
And he was telling me he is an expert at cleaning air conditioners and so forth and things like that. And how important it is. I was going through how often you should clean it and so. And that's very, very interesting. Legionnaire's disease typically would be in air conditioners for very high story building. You typically won't pick it up from the window air conditioned units. It's the ones that have these air conditioned stuff on top of the roof and so forth and things like that. And nobody's checked them for a little while, and they have water storage and recycling and all that kind of thing and so forth. And yes, I have had to diagnose several cases of Legionnaire's disease in the United States. And it's a dangerous illness. And more,
very much so,
as our buildings get taller, and in Trinidad, a couple of hotels and so forth are quite tall. Those hotels, they would use those systems, right? And in Barbados too would typically have that. But boy, you go to Miami, you go to those other places, you have to be very careful about those things. I'm glad you brought it up.
But not only that. In Barbados, where I used to work at the port control tower, I used to ask, because I was the senior radio operator there.
Yeah.
And every month I used to ask the people from engineering to send the air conditioner people to clean the air conditioner, because
every month.
I don't want my colleagues.
Every month?
Every month.
Not once a year. Every month?
Every month.
Wow.
Because I don't want to be sick, and I certainly won't want my colleagues to be sick.
You know something? You brought up something there. There are a lot of people think that the air conditioned unit could probably be left for a year or two. You know what I mean? And just forget about it. Matter of fact, you hope it cleans itself. You know?
Yeah, it don't.
It doesn't, right? And so.
But also, Doc, there was a time in Michigan, in the States.
Yeah.
And you being a person that always in the States, you would have heard about this as well.
Yeah.
In Obama time, I think it was in Obama time, the people at the water authority in Michigan changed the water source from the wells to the river. And as a result of that change, they had to use different pipes. And a lot of people caught Legionnaires, and some of them died.
Well, I tell you something.
You remember that, Doc?
Flint. It's called
Flint, Michigan.
Flint, Michigan. It's a serious reason. Not only that, the water started to dissolve something we know, lead, and started creating a whole set of lead poisoning as well. But boy, that sounds like a whole new subject. I'm really glad you brought up some interesting topics there. And I think the message going out is that if you have an air conditioned unit, pay some serious attention to cleaning it. Get somebody
as often as you can.
Get somebody good to come and clean it, and really to service it and fix it. A stitch in time can save 9, and especially if
your life.
Yeah, and if it's a big unit on top of a building, boy, you advocate with your colleagues and so that the owners of the building or the company and so pay some attention to that, and it'll go a long way. You know. Thank you.
Anyway, Doc, thanks for taking my call.
My pleasure. All the best.
And I will hear you on Monday.
Sure. Okay. Yes, you bet. You bet.
Okay. Okay, Doc. Great.
Thank you. Well, I think we've come to the end of the program. Some unexpected twists and turns there. You know, what boosts the immune system, air conditioned unit. A lot of stuff we went through there, you know? And I was talking just about H3N2 influenza, and it took us down a journey in different directions. That's what happens sometimes. And, you know, the callers and the people who text, we want to thank you very much. We're grateful for all the comments that you bring up. You help us to discuss these things in the depth that we need to do it. This is Your Health Matters. This is Dr. Gerald Thompson signing out. And do have a wonderful week. Stay safe. Stay away from that flu. And clean your air condition. Get somebody good. Come out, get somebody good. Come out and go and clean it up. This is Dr. Gerald Thompson signing out. Do have a pleasant good evening and good night.
People's Pharmacy, for all your pharmaceutical, skin and body care needs.